Greetings everyone, this is Jeff from the Overwatch team. I just want to give you a little bit of a warning. I think this is going to be a longer developer update than we usually do, but it's because we want to spend time explaining things very carefully to you.
For far too long, Overwatch stood unchallenged, allowing corporate greed to sink its claws deep into the game's soul. Competition sparks rivalry between companies, which pushes them to improve their products to attract more audience. Back then, the alternatives to hero shooters were laughable at best. Paladins? A dull, uninspired cash grab. Team Fortress 2? Sure, if you enjoy playing a relic that's too old, clunky, and limited to PC. And then there's Conquered. Let's be real. Who even played that disaster? Overwatch dominance continued until last year, when a new hero shooter, Marvel Rivals, stormed the market and stole the spotlight. Where Overwatch falters under the weight of corporate greed and hollow agendas, Marvel Rivals thrives by focusing on what players want: exciting gameplay and a diverse, engaging roster. No distractions, no forced narratives, just pure fun. And with the game being free on all major consoles and Steam, casual players have flocked to experience the fresh, fast-paced gameplay of Marvel Rivals. When comparing designs in Marvel Rivals and Overwatch, it's clear that Marvel Rivals knows what its audience wants: bold, striking, and unmistakably appealing designs. The characters exude confidence, with their chiseled, masculine figures and strong, vibrant personalities. The female characters are undeniably gorgeous, with sleek, powerful designs that emphasize strength and beauty, without losing an ounce of allure. The masculine designs are equally as striking, presenting characters who look both intimidating and heroic, without leaning too far into unrealistic extremes. This approach is refreshing, catering to players who appreciate clean, classic aesthetics that scream power and charm. In contrast, Overwatch 2 has often prioritized pushing the DEI agenda with its character designs. Many characters of this game are ambiguous, and they have pushed an extreme campaign forcing homosexuality in the game because this is more important than saving a dying game, all for the sake of diversity and inclusion. At least they did not add pronounces on the heroes, or they didn't because Bobby Kotick took all the money from the development team. Ultimately, Marvel Rivals delivers a more universally attractive roster, where every character feels purposeful and visually appealing, while Overwatch sometimes sacrifices appeal for the sake of inclusivity, leaving some players feeling disconnected from its designs. Bobby Kotick, the notorious CEO of Activision Blizzard, embodies corporate greed that has slowly poisoned the soul of Blizzard Entertainment. Under his leadership, the once respected company has become a shell of its former self, with Overwatch 1's demise serving as the perfect example of his destructive influence. Bobby Kotick's obsession with profit over player experience led to the downfall of a game that had once captured the hearts of millions. Blizzard's decision to shut down Overwatch 1's servers and force players into Overwatch 2 wasn't about innovation. It was a blatant cash grab. Promises of exciting PvE content were abandoned, leaving fans in the dust. Currency systems were removed, skins became locked behind paywalls, and characters were hidden behind expensive battle passes, all to push players into spending more money. The changes made the game feel hollow, exploitative, and corrupted to its core.
The main thing that Overwatch 2 is supposed to do isn't happening. That's right. You know the only thing that you were supposed to get excited about with the game? They canceled it.
With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore. And we know that this is going to be disappointing to many of you, which is why we wanted to bring it up before we talked about the roadmap. And to be perfectly honest, it's been really difficult for many of us and a lot of folks on the team who've poured their heart and soul into that stuff.
Blizzard's lies were as frequent as they were destructive. Overwatch 2 was hyped as the game that would deliver everything fans had been clamoring for, especially the long-awaited story mode that was promised to elevate the experience. Instead, what players got was a poorly executed cash grab that felt more like a lazy copy of the original Overwatch from 2016, stripped of the magic that made it special. The truth is, Overwatch 2 wasn't the game Blizzard sold to us. It wasn't the game that earned its place in history, and it certainly wasn't the game Jeff Kaplan and his team had created. a game that won awards and built a passionate fan base. Under Bobby Kotick's reign, the soul of Overwatch was siphoned away, replaced with hollow promises and unfulfilled potential. The story mode? A distant dream. The game we were left with was a shadow of what Overwatch could have been. And it's clear that Blizzard's greed, rather than creative ambition, was the driving force behind it all. By far, the most egregious act Bobby Kotick committed was driving Jeff Kaplan, the heart and soul of Overwatch, out of the company. Kaplan wasn't just a developer. He was the creator, the visionary, who poured his heart into building a game that players adored. But under Kotick's toxic leadership, Kaplan was bullied, forced to abandon his creation, and ultimately leave Blizzard. Jeff Kaplan's departure marked the beginning of Overwatch's death spiral. He was not just respected, but revered within the community, and his absence left a gaping hole in the game's identity. The once passionate and dedicated team that made Overwatch a success was crippled, and with it, the very soul of the game was lost. Bobby Kotick's obsession with money and his disdain for the people who made Blizzard great turned a beloved game into a hollow shell. Without Jeff Kaplan, Overwatch was no longer the game fans fell in love with. It became a product, one designed to milk players dry rather than honor the legacy of what it could have been. The result? Overwatch became a shell of its former self, with a player base that slowly dwindled. Steam reviews were flooded with negative feedback, and many longtime players abandoned ship, turning to other games that offered better, more honest experiences. When Marvel Rivals was released, it was a game that didn't just provide a breath of fresh air, but delivered a final blow to Blizzard's stranglehold on the genre. Marvel Rivals forced Blizzard to face the consequences of their greed and either adapt or fade into irrelevance. The battle for supremacy in hero shooters had begun, and Blizzard had been left behind. Bobby Kotick was forced out of Blizzard in 2023, but not before he stole a significant amount of money from the funds that were originally allocated for the Overwatch story mode. This left the game in a disastrous state, with its future uncertain. The responsibility for trying to salvage what was left of Overwatch 2 was handed to Aaron Keller, who found himself in an impossible position. Aaron Keller inherited a broken game and a community that felt betrayed. With all eyes on him, he was tasked with restoring faith in Overwatch 2, an uphill battle against the mess Kotick had left behind. While the community's frustrations were justified, Keller was left to bear the brunt of the blame for decisions that were beyond his control. The direction of the game, once a beloved flagship title, had been tainted by Bobby Kotick's greed, and Aaron Keller became the unfortunate scapegoat. The task of fixing Overwatch 2 became a near impossible mission, and players watched as their once beloved game continued to wither under the weight of corporate mismanagement. Aaron Keller's team brought back the beloved Overwatch 1 content, including loot boxes, which to many players feels like a long overdue redemption. The excitement surrounding this isn't just about nostalgia, it's about the fact that Blizzard finally listened to their community. Loot boxes, for all their controversy, were a key part of Overwatch 1's identity and gave players a tangible sense of progression and excitement. The real issue wasn't that loot boxes existed, it was that they were removed without fully understanding how much they were tied to the game's DNA. Players had an emotional connection to the random reward system, the thrill of unlocking new skins, and the joy of seeing their collections grow. When loot boxes were replaced by a more corporate-friendly system like battle passes and locked content, it felt like Blizzard was putting profits over player experience. Now that loot boxes are back, it's not just about returning to the old ways, but about acknowledging that the Overwatch community's voice matters. It's a sign of redemption, of Blizzard realizing that Overwatch doesn't thrive on greed and gimmicks. It thrives on the passion and loyalty of its players. The excitement isn't just about loot boxes themselves. It's about the fact that Blizzard is finally taking steps to restore what made Overwatch special in the first place. Under Aaron Keller's leadership, Overwatch has desperately scrambled to restore the content Blizzard gutted, hoping to lure back the players they drove away. And guess what? It worked. Why? Because modern gamers are so easily manipulated. Strip the game bare, dress it back up in the same old skin, and suddenly, people are excited again, acting like Blizzard is doing them a favor instead of fixing their own mess. This isn't a comeback. It's a calculated move. Overwatch is a massive franchise, and Blizzard knows exactly how to exploit nostalgia and fan loyalty. They created the disaster, they profited from the chaos, and now they're profiting again by fixing it. And people eat it up, because deep down, they just want to believe in the game they once loved. The real question is, how long before Blizzard pulls the rug out again? Are you jumping back into Overwatch 2? Let me know why in the comments. And stay tuned for more hard-hitting, controversial takes.